Welcome back to the Weaving Magic podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Lilly.
And I'm Tara Webb.
And we are wow, words. We are jumping into a very interesting topic of the liminal void.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I feel like we're both kind of a low energy right now, which is very indicative, yes, of this time because, you know, when you're coming out of the holiday season, whether it's Yule, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, I was trying to think of other ones, when you're coming out of that void, and I know there's like the 24 days of Christmas that celebrate also after Christmas. I think Hanukkah does after, or are they before and Kwanzaa's after? I don't remember exactly. There's some that like actually go after into the new year. Oh, I know it's I'm forgetting words at the moment. The Catholicism, they do some stuff afterwards because that's a saint time, I think, when they are honoring a certain saint or something up until the beginning of the new year. There's like actually 24 days of Christmas or something like that after.
You are reminding me how out of touch with holidays I
Yeah, we have books specifically for our kids that are talk about Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Christmas. I think I need one that kind of goes a bit more into Catholicism difference and like that kind of stuff, just because it's interesting. But there's also St. Lucia Day, and they also obviously have St. Nicholas, which will be you heard in our previous episode. But St. Nicholas Day, there's a lot of different holidays throughout the holidays that have been clustered together essentially. All of that to say is we're coming off a holiday high and we're waiting. It feels like pregnancy. You're waiting for the new year to start to do things in the new year.
Like that last trimester of pregnancy when you're just waiting to pop.
Mm-hmm. And it's we feel like we can't start the new things, the good habits until January 1st because they don't count. But in reality, it actually would provide a good upwind. The idea of the plane getting off the ground and going, you have to have the momentum. So if we actually got started on whatever habits, you're you're not going to be a better person next year. You're you can strive for, better things if you want. But I feel like there's always this idea of reinventing ourselves and you have to be a different person, which
how about using this time to reflect and honor who you are right now and celebrate who you are right now? Mm-hmm. We spend so much time throughout the year. What am I going to do next? How am I going to up level? What is the next phase for me? And it's we forget this pause, and then we get this pause, which we're getting right now, that liminal space between, the winter holidays and the new year. And it's just, I feel like we don't know what to do with it because we don't like it. Be productive. We have to be productive.
Yeah, we're almost grumpy during it, truly,
and resistant.
And what's funny is that right before quote unquote Christmas time frame is the winter solstice, is Yule, and that is officially winter when we're supposed to be resting. So we have that last little push to Christmas to be super jolly, be out in everybody's faces, and then we finally have that time when it's yeah, you can be by yourself. You can go into your little cocoon, but we feel weird doing so because it's been forced on us to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new year comes.
I also feel like it's a weird time of decompressing because holidays for a lot of people, and I know for me, there's a lot of baggage that comes with that childhood trauma that gets triggered and, misgendering at family holidays. And it's a lot of just constant, also being around people. I work from home. I'm home all the time. And then it's you're forced around a lot of people that you love, no shame in that, but there's a decompression period that has to happen after that because it's a whirlwind of emotions.
Especially when you haven't been around those people a lot throughout the year. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who obviously live near family and they see them throughout the year and that kind of stuff. But it's we wait until the holidays and that's when we just bombard our systems with people that maybe aren't fully in alignment. We stuff down how we feel so that we can just have a jolly time and we can just be happy for other people and ourselves too. But we kind of stuff it down because this is the time that we just go and we don't want to make a scene. We just want to enjoy it. And
we don't want to be the drama.
Yeah. It's a very difficult time.
It is. And it's also I feel like it's the time of year I'm a little bit more lenient on my boundaries too. And I wonder why that is.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really thought about that till just now.
Yeah.
But I'm more likely to say, oh, I'm not going to say this because I don't want to cause drama at a family event. I don't want to be the reason people get into an argument.
So you're lenient on your boundaries, but also stricter on certain boundaries.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So what do we do with this liminal void?
Well, we have someone here who, it's fascinating because Justin and I have really gotten to the point in our life where we have cut people out in our life, like family members and stuff. Mm. And it's not like a, hey, you suck, we're not going to talk to you again or anything like that. It's not even an intentional mean thing. It's just like, you know, you talk to us, cool, we'll say hi, but like, we're not going to go out of our way anymore. And we have people around us who still have people coming into their lives who actually created a lot of trauma for them over childhood and that kind of like intense trauma, and they're still allowed to be a part of their family and like come, not as much as like, you know, hey, come stay in my house, or hey, like I really love you, but they're still allowed. And it just reminds me of how we flex, like you said, we flex those boundaries a bit more, we open them up a bit more to make the people in our lives happier, because more it's like give and take. Comfortable. Because we don't want to start something. I mean, my family, it's definitely
we don't want to be an inconvenience.
Yeah. We don't want to hear about it, really, right? It's like, I don't feel like hearing your arguments, hearing your reasons for getting mad at me over this.
Well, and it's hard too, because there are some situations, like I know with my pronouns, there's some people that I know correcting them is going to be useless because they're not going to, it's just going to make a scene. And there's just, I know that that's not where they're at. And so it's like, why even say anything?
And is that for you or is that for them or both, right? That's something you get to decide when you're making that decision, which is still difficult. And
this is not where I was expecting this episode to go.
Well, and we also think about our kids are coming off that high too, because they have been programmed during this time to like love and hug and give. Act like you're super excited for gifts. Like you and I were talking about this earlier, that whenever someone says something that we don't expect and it's like a gift in a way, and we're like, oh, thanks. Like, you know, here's this. Yeah. You don't know how to prepare for it. I used to make fun of my mom for that when I was younger, just because I was immature and I didn't realize it because I was always super excited about things. And like my dad would get her a gift and she would be like, oh yeah, thanks. But like, she just didn't know how to take it. And also probably because she typically chose her gift too. So like, you know what you're getting. So that's not fun. But there's this like, this demand on someone gives you something, you should be super happy. Your kids should say thank you and go hug them and be super grateful. Not be, that's the other thing. We didn't mean to talk about holiday stuff, but like now that I'm thinking about it, that's the other thing, is that kids should not be frustrated about gifts that they get that they didn't want. Because I know like in my family.
That they shouldn't be? Like
the idea that like, you know, if you get this toy and you don't like it, you still have to be super grateful for it. You can't have the feeling like, oh, disappointment, frustration, right? Because I know I'm sure when we were kids, it was like, you'll love it whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Too bad. If you feel
that's definitely something heavily ingrained. Like I can feel part of me resisting as you say this, but it's so true.
If you feel like someone, like for me, felt like my brother got more than me, I just wouldn't say anything. I would just push it down and be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Because, you know, it's difficult for kids. In my family, my mom was very specific about what she gets. She does like to get kids, like my boys, ideas of what they like, but, you know, they like Pokemon stuff or whatever, right? And she necessarily doesn't want to get that. She wants to get them maybe something that will probably last longer, like an art kit or something, and they would like it. But they still have to, like, register in their brain, I've asked for this, and I got this, and I may still like it. But, like, I still have to adjust that.
Well, and also, like, kids don't know how to respond to things sometimes because they've never had to, and they don't know the societal standards and all of the lessons that we're teaching them. And so it's like, what are we really teaching them to, I mean, I think it's important to be grateful. Thank you for thinking of me, but I don't think you have to be like, oh, I love this toy, it's my favorite, when it's not, because then what are you teaching them to communicate? To push down their needs and wants for, say, to make someone else comfortable?
Yeah. And there's also that pressure that, you know, the gift you buy is very specific and chosen directly for that person. And if it's not like so much effort put into it, then you really don't care.
Yeah, gifts are not my big love language. I struggle with
That's
giving
mine.
gifts for people.
Gifts are one of mine.
I know. And I feel, because you've sent me so many things, and I have a box of things for you here. I just haven't sent it.
I think words are yours. Words are a big one for you. Like
yeah, I'm definitely words of affirmation. Yeah, that, and acts of service. But we don't live close enough for me to really do that. But acts of service are a big one for me. I like to go to a friend's house at the.
Go ahead.
I was to say, like, go help them clean or something.
Well, I think for gifts, we also think that, like, for those that actually do like gifts, it's that mindset that we're told of, like, you shouldn't ask for too many things, right? Asking for gifts being your love language is like you're asking for someone to just constantly give you money and, like, throw stuff at you is the perception. I don't need anything. That's the whole point. No, I don't. But the fact that you went and got something is thoughtful. And then even then it's like, with gifts, it's like, thanks. It's thoughtful that you thought of it, but I have nothing to do with this, and I don't even know what this is. Like Justin when he tried to get me gifts. I love this. I won't use it, but thank you.
Thank you for thinking of me. Yeah, I know it's not like the most fun, but like with me and my husband, I'm like, I want to get this, and I'm going to buy my Christmas present now, and I'll just buy myself something.
So do y'all get each other gifts during the holiday season?
I mean, that's pretty much our conversation is we typically know what we're getting, or we'll buy it early. Like, we use Christmas as like, oh, we want this big thing for our house. Like, this year we already got our Christmas present. We bought ourselves the PS5, and that was like our Christmas gift that we decided on. I mean, we do little stocking stuffers and little like cutesy things, but not like we do one big gift and we do it something that we want together for the house or something.
I like that.
Gift giving is neither of our strong points.
Yeah.
And we are aware of that. So that's how we kind of bridge that gap.
So when we come off that, especially the day right after Christmas time specifically, it feels almost like a letdown because we have all these presents and we still want to go play with them, but almost like you're expecting more, even though you know nothing's coming, right? But you do want to enjoy your presents. It's that, especially when we have so many as a kid, there's just so much out there. And the expectation of like, you shouldn't want anything as well. You shouldn't need anything after that. Which is interesting because I was talking to somebody about, the perception of like basically from November to December timeframe, if you need anything, it's like, well, you can wait until Christmas. And we don't do that in our house at all. We literally just bought the kids and Justin a laser gun set for them to go play. And it was like, oh, you could have held that till Christmas. Yeah, but Justin wanted to go play with the kids and it wasn't on our Christmas list. Like, we have specific things we have for Christmas. You don't have to have a bunch of toys piled up under the tree.
Yeah, we don't do that either. I bought this car set that Lincoln really liked at his cousin's house. And they're like, oh, that'd be a good Christmas gift. I just gave it to him. So it's like, I don't want to have to wait for him to play with this until Christmas. It's November. It's a whole month. And I don't think that's fine. And we don't do presents under the tree. Like, we might do like one or two. We do stockings, but I like to have a few toys that they really love already put together so that when they come down, they can just start playing versus getting frustrated because they have to wait for us to open the box. And then we have to figure out how to put it together. And then everybody's frustrated by the time you get through that, especially at their age,
Yep. That and if we did do a bunch, quote unquote, a bunch, which are like more small things, we would let them open one a day, depending on how many we had before. So that they're actually enjoying them over. Because they don't know how to play with all the toys at once.
Yeah. So I'm going to backpedal a little bit and, let's talk about this liminal space and the weird expectations that we have to create these big goals for January 1st.
I also think a part of this, and maybe it's to me why it feels quite liminal, because our calendar is just fake. We have a
look at
calendar.
How it's getting dark at freaking 4:00 in the afternoon.
I mean, we're based off of two people who are like, I want more days in my month, and I want more days in my month. And they literally just did days based on how many, so they had like equal days and just felt better about stuff. Like,
for February.
Right? You're just like they technically, what was it? They cut out, did they cut out a month, or they cut out something about the 13th? Like because there are 13 moon cycles instead of 12.
Yeah, there was
cut
13
out a month.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it feel off, which I think is why. Oh, there was one calendar, I don't remember. I think it's in Africa where they're still like in 2014.
It's wild. Well, and it also makes sense too. Global warming is absolutely 100% a factor. But when we talk about how the seasons almost feel like they're shifting a little bit, because I feel like when I was a kid, Christmas and December was always super snowy. We got lots of snow, and I'm living in the same area that I was when I was a kid because I, came full circle and moved back to the same state. And we don't really see snow until after January, February timeframe. And it's not even as much as it used to be. And I don't know, it just feels like all the seasons have kind of migrated to different times of the year almost.
I mean, summer is
not a whole lot,
hot.
But like a few months.
Summer's so hot, and it goes in, especially when you're in the South. But I mean, it goes until October. I mean, right now it's like 75 degrees out here, and we're in December. No, we're in November, but you'll hear this in December.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still just really warm.
Uh-oh, we just dated our episode.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Which is part of standards, right? Like the idea of you have to do everything right in the moment. You have to post all of your pictures and everything right in the moment. You have to make all of these lists and do it right then. Which goes back to the idea of
I struggle with that. Yeah. Why can't we just be present for a moment and then we can think about that later?
I mean, that's something Alyssa and I have talked about in general, going places, like when we go on a trip, we don't want to have to be recording of tons of content. We actually want to just be in the moment there. We enjoy taking pictures. We enjoy recording reels or episodes and that kind of stuff. But also there's something to be said for just like putting that down and for however long, just being where you are and being with that person.
It's such a struggle too, because when we visit, we want to create, but then it's like, no, I actually just want to, cook dinner with you and I just want to be out.
Which I think speaks to very much of who we are. I've always felt like it was that liminal time would be definitely like a way for me to do better. Let's be honest, do more. It's not better. It's more the next year, because we didn't do enough the final year, but the year before us. Because it wasn't good
I used
enough.
to be really big into New Year's resolutions and, working in the health coaching field. That's like, oh, that's your time to really start selling stuff. And, I do have something launching in January, but I don't want that to be the focus. The focus isn't to try to be more or be better or set these like real unrealistic goals for yourself. I feel like in January, that's what happens is people set these goals, and instead of trying to slowly transition into meeting that goal, they just dive in and expect to eat perfect and go to the gym every day and completely I can't think of the word, to eliminate their habits that may not be great for them now. And that's a slow transition. You don't just, it's not overnight. And then you burn yourself out and then you fall, quote, I'm going to put air quotes because I hate this term, but fall off the wagon. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, I have to wait till next year. And then you spend the rest of the year just not caring because you've given up. And that's such a terrible cycle to get stuck in, but that's literally what our culture teaches us. right?
I mean, in Ayurveda, as well as habit culture, it's very well known that you can't do multiple things at one time when starting off. Mm-hmm. You have to choose 1, 2, maybe 3, to start changing your schedule, to start living, differently if that's what you choose. Whatever routine you're wanting to implement, you have to do just a few of them and be really consistent with those, and then you add them on. So, I think our challenge would be interesting of this liminal time is, write everything you want to accomplish for 2023. By all means, look for the highlights, really go for it, but then bring it down month by month and where can you start? And honestly, I bet you anything, the first place you're going to start is getting better rest, eating for yourself, eating better in the sense of really listening to your body, drinking more water, and then maybe choosing the time. If it's working out, do one small thing that day, because going to the gym the first week, an hour, you are going to burn yourself out. It is not in your schedule. Your schedule, your body does not know what's hitting it.
And then you're going to be really sore and not want to go the next day. And then you're going to beat yourself up about it. And that's, like I said, that's a vicious cycle to get in. I think it's just really thinking about baby steps and also strategizing with yourself. You know yourself better than anyone, right? So if you have these goals, again, looking at big picture, you can see all these big goals. Choose one area to focus on. If you're wanting to set goals for January, just one area. If it's finances, maybe the first step is just taking a step back and looking at your current state of finances without letting it destroy you, or ignore the little voice in your head that's telling you all the things you've done wrong with finances. It doesn't matter, because what matters is your choices now, right? And so you can just pick one thing to look at, right?
And I would say one thing that actually would be the best thing to start to getting the momentum for anything across the board is your positive affirmations, is to begin to change the way you talk to yourself, because that will change anything you choose. Finances, working out, giving to yourself with self-care, choosing a business. You have to have a positive self-talk. And it will feel like, well, I have to do everything at one time. But let me tell you, anything you choose, if it's finances, if it's that self-care, whatever you choose will progressively send you into something else, because you will feel better. You will see that you're progressing in that area, and you will want to naturally go to that other thing, which will then progress to another thing. But I mean, we say falling off the wagon and that kind of stuff. And it's important to be consistent on what you choose. It's 33 days, or there's so many timelines on, so many weeks and that kind of stuff that people talk about. But it is important to be consistent, not for these massive goals, but for something that is small and manageable, so that when you do that for, let's just say it's 33 days, that's a large number, but let's just say it is, because I don't remember the studies.
To build a habit, it's 14 days.
14 days.
I think.
We'll say 14.
Or is it 21?
So,
oh, no, I don't know. It might be 21.
We'll say 14 before you add something on to continue, right? Add something else small on. Those first 14 are really going to implement, I've been doing this every day. If you fall off that 14, it's okay. You can restart by all means, but you want to have that consistent, because then your body is shifting. And we've talked about this with Ayurveda, of you don't want to take away and leave a void, or you don't want to input where nothing has been before. So it's looking at your schedule you have now. And if it's finances, it's okay, typically I would go buy Starbucks at this day, every single day. Okay. If I'm choosing for whatever reason to not spend as much money in general or in Starbucks, I take that moment and maybe I intentionally put it where I would make coffee for myself. You're switching that time in your schedule. You're not implanting, you're not removing, you're just allowing for something different in that moment.
And let me tell you, making your own coffee or teas has been such a pleasant experience for me. I've been transitioning off of coffee, and taking that time to make my tea intentionally and sit there and drink it and be that whole process. I enjoy it way more than stressing out on getting my kids loaded up in the car and driving to a Starbucks and then being drained from the coffee.
That, and we have this perception that the coffee has to be really sweet or taste a certain way, because that's what we're used to having someone else make. So when we make it at home, it will not taste the same. You can craft it, like hone your craft.
Experiment, yeah.
Yeah, if that's something you want, is like, I'm going to save money, but also like buy the things that I really want for my coffee at home. You can entirely make it what you want and like really experiment and enjoy that. But the first one that you start off is not going to be what your brain is thinking. And so it's sticking with that. And also understanding that like I want to save money and then I'm going to go and buy this stuff. That's okay. If what you're doing is buying something and have more happiness at home, that's okay too. And it's okay to still go grab that coffee every now and then. Yes. Like there's none of this like absolute. The absolutes are shit. They mean nothing. It just is a
all
way
in or nothing mentality is
that's patriarchy. It's meant to beat you down. That's it. Mm-hmm. Well, I suck. I can't do it. That's what I used to do with writing in my journal. Why can't I do this? I suck. I should have done this. God, why am I like this? Just constantly beating myself down because I was never meeting up to my own standards. I have really high fucking standards. And you have to realize that. I do.
Mm-hmm. You do. I do too. We all do. Let's be real. So maybe our challenge is to take a pause and reflect on what expectations you're having for yourself and how can you, I don't know, I'm having issues finding words. How can you work on resetting that? What small step can you take towards resetting that? Let's see if I have a better way to phrase that. I'm struggling with words today.
Well, something that Alyssa and I do is we choose a word for the year. And so you can also look at what you're doing and maybe choose an affirmation for your year that helps you positively go towards that. Like you're looking at everything that you're expecting of yourself and you're choosing if it's, we're going to say working out. I love my body and all that it gives me. Something like that, right? You choose that affirmation that will promote the positive thinking. So when you take those steps, the layout of what you want, you begin automatically with just a better mindset, and you're starting off like just gold, like you're going for it.
I love the affirmation. I intentionally choose what my definition of success is. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good one too for a new year. I don't know what mine's going to be for this year, but I'm really leaning on that one. This concludes another episode of our Weaving Magick podcast.
We release one episode a week, so be sure to subscribe to catch the latest episode as soon as it releases. You can find us on Instagram at Weaving Magick Podcast. That's Weaving Magick, Magick Podcast.
We would also love it if you could leave us a review. If you do, make sure to email us your review so we can send you a thank you gift. Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to find a way to weave magic into your daily life.